Hey, good morning, everybody. I hope you're doing well. If you happen to see the video of this for any reason, I look kind of strange. My coat is all bunched up, and I feel like I look like something between, I don't know, a cross between some kind of Wicked Witch of the West reject and Frankenstein, basically. So, at any rate, hopefully you can get that visual out of your mind if you're watching. I wanted to talk about something that I think nearly every parent misses, or at least doesn't understand the extent to which this happens and why it's important. Now, I want to make it clear. The reason most parents don't know this or understand it is not because parents are dumb or uncaring or lazy. It's because you don't have access to this information. So it's not your fault. I'm not criticizing in any way. So please don't hear that in anything I say, because that's not my intent. That said, one of the really remarkable, I don't know what it is, a paradox maybe, I'm not sure exactly, but one of the interesting things about teaching is, so I will see kids, literally all day long. I'll see them get out of their cars. I'll see them in the hallways. I will often have them in class. I'll see them at lunch. I will see them, frequently in other classes if I need to go talk to a teacher. I will see them as they're getting ready to either go home or they're headed out to like their sport or theater or whatever they're doing after school, music lessons, etc. And if you were to take a snapshot of a child at any of those various points, you would see you might see 5 or 6 different kids. The way they look changes constantly during the day. The way they feel changes constantly during the day. If you are to stop the camera and do a close-up at any one moment, they might be having the worst day of their life, and they might be having the best day of their entire life, or it might just be meh. Their friends might be incredible, or their friends might be the biggest jerks ever. People they sit by in class might be really, really nice. It might be the meanest of the mean girls, which is a phrase, by the way, I do not like. I only use it because it is used a lot. I really don't like that phrase, though. At any rate, this is why. So this is important to understand, because when you hear from your child, and you don't always, right? Sometimes kids aren't very communicative. Chances are what you hear is going to be either the biggest thing they felt that day or the most recent thing they felt that day. And that doesn't make it wrong, but it makes it incomplete. So let's say a child has a developmentally normal problem with a friend or their peers. Okay, this is incredibly hard. Normal doesn't make it easy, and it doesn't really provide a lot of comfort in the midst of the problems to say, oh, it's totally normal. This is what kids do at this age. They'll be fine, I promise. But it's hard. It's really painful when you see your kid hurting. And often, not only are you hurting for them, it not infrequently will trigger memories of your own, problems and insecurities. You hear that all the time. So parents are often carrying a double burden. So again, you need to remember, though, you are hearing one part of their day and one part of their life. It's real, and it clearly has deep meaning, but that doesn't make it representative. I cannot tell you the number of times I have, had a really just genuinely anguished call or email or something from a parent about another kid being mean to them or something like that. And so I will then usually spend a couple days essentially, following them, but kind of watching and supervising from a distance, keeping an eye out. I'll ask other teachers to do the same, and we watch pretty closely. And what happens, not every time, but the vast majority of the time, and I mean truly the vast majority of the time, is that often these two kids are fine. See them laughing together. Often see them, we'll choose each other's partners. We will, see the child who was complaining and whose parents were so upset. We will see that child voluntarily move over to be with the other child. That doesn't make everything all right. Just like what you hear at home doesn't make everything all wrong. But it is interesting and it provides additional context. Often, the reality behind a situation, if your child comes home and they're really angry, upset, or frustrated or hurt about something, the reality is this, often, there's a few exceptions I'll try to touch on in a second, that they had a really bad day or they had a really bad moment, right? Something, we all have those, like adults have them, so why wouldn't kids have them? We know we have bad days that, we don't like our boss one day or we hate our job, but we know we really don't. That's how we feel that day. Well, kids have those same things. Their emotions are often bigger than ours. They're also newer. They have very little, practice with this sort of thing. And so usually what happens is you are hearing a tiny bit of their day. And it's real, it's raw, but it is only a little bit and it doesn't represent the totality. Here's why that matters. If you're going to fix something, you have to diagnose it correctly, right? You cannot treat a virus with an antibiotic and, if you have a serious infection, you're going to need an antibiotic, not an antiviral or just bed rest, right? Understanding that is critical. So approaching these kinds of things with perspective, almost always these are unpleasant developmental bumps. They're normal. They're happening as your child is developing, and more importantly, as the other children around your child are developing. They're all experimenting with autonomy, with new senses of humor. They're trying on new personalities, new personas. Often friend groups that have been very tight for years will start shifting and changing a little. That's just not to do with being mean or trying to be exclusive, although it can feel that way. But generally, that's what happens at this age. They start experimenting and they're less driven by adults, and who their friends used to be is often a matter of maybe who their parents knew or who they happen to be with in kindergarten or whatever. And now this just starts changing. So all this to say, the good news is that if your child comes home and just is distraught, chances are it's going to be okay. It's probably not like a level, high level emergency. It's going to take some parenting and some work. All right. And that's fine. That's what we do. That's what we do as parents. This is what adolescence, teen, and even young adulthood is like. All right. Remember that they're encountering experiences for the first time. They don't have experience and perspective like we do. All right. They don't have always the vocabulary to use. They just know they're really upset, and so they right now, again, think of all the times you've had a bad day and you suddenly hated your job or hated your boss, or your spouse was just driving you crazy, right? All those things are real, but they're not representative generally. I'm not saying some people do have real problems with this, but we often as humans we get frustrated and tired and we lose it, and people push our last button and jump on our last nerve. So of course that will be happening with children. Remember too that teens have bigger feelings, less experience, and less practice to guide them in managing these emotions. And also, though, they just really have little perspective. It really feels to them at the end of the day, because their friend said something snarky, they do feel like their life is over, like their social life has ended, that friend hates them, everyone's mean to them, right? That's how they feel. It's not untrue. It's very true at the moment, but it's not representative. And our job as parents is not to jump in and amplify their momentary distress. It's to help them learn to calmly unpack it and work through it. Think about it. Are there alternative explanations? Is there something else that may have been going on in the person's mind? Right? We know how to do all this. Also, just learning to calm down, right? Like just learning how to regulate emotions, calm down before you make decisions. All these are really, really important skills that they will need later in life, and that they will learn and should learn if they're going to be happy adults. So that's a parent's job in this moment. Now, if you need to get more data and make sure that this isn't something that's becoming a severe problem. Also, if something is repeated over and over, that would start to be a problem, right? But generally speaking, when your child comes home, just like when they come home and say, something is amazing, this is the best thing ever, I love it so much. That's sincere, but you also know it's not going to last. That's not permanent. But you understand that and can contextualize it. But we really often don't do that very well in reverse when it's something that they're unhappy about. And that's natural, right? We have tens of thousands of years of instincts that tell us to rescue our child, help our child, because for a long time the world was a very dangerous place, and parents had to watch carefully. Their child could be eaten by a saber-toothed tiger, or taken away by a marauding tribe, or have an accident that could leave them without a limb. The world has been a very dangerous place. So it's not bad that we do this, but we need to adjust. There's a phrase I have heard before, and I think this really applies well, that when your child is distressed, or honestly when they have any kind of high level emotion, and it's basically that you should take it seriously, but not literally. Okay? Seriously, but not literally. It matters to your child, and that's enough, right? This is something they need to help with. They need empathy, and then they need coaching. But don't jump on it and start trying to reorganize things, your child's world, or trying to, suddenly intervene in everything. There may become a time for that, but don't jump there first, because almost certainly the odds are so high that this is a bump and an anomaly. Even when something does appear to be more serious and does need some kind of adult intervention, I've often gone in to start those interventions, and as I pull the kids in to talk about it with them and try to get their sense of what's happening, I will almost always hear, again, vast majority, oh yeah, that happened, but we made up. It's, we're good now. He apologized, or yeah, she said she was sorry and she's really trying. And I hear that kind of thing often. So don't underestimate your child's ability to, engage and address problems, but help them learn to do that, to actively teach them. They need to be able to do this kind of thing if they're going to be happy and healthy in life. And not infrequently, a parent will, ask a teacher or administrator to have a talk. Basically, the parent wants another parent to know something, or the child wishes another child would know something, understand something. And almost always the first response is, could you please tell them? Sometimes, because maybe if it's something really sensitive, or there's been a big conflict that's gone on, there might be value in that. But I'm going to suggest that shouldn't be the first. That shouldn't be the first option. It's really important that kids learn to express their feelings to their friends. It's hard, but this is part of growing up, and it will be important for their future relationship and happiness and ability to work with people. It's important, and it is hard, but you know what? A lot of kids do taekwondo and football and violin and soccer and etc., and that's hard. It's really hard. They push it. They have to practice it a lot. But they do it, and they understand they have to practice it, and they get better at it, and they don't really mind, and it doesn't hurt them. So don't be afraid to let your child practice it. Adolescence is a very long rehearsal. It is not the real performance. It's the time to get it all wrong and make lots of mistakes, and it's going to be messy. I hope that helps, though. I've kind of touched on some other things, but this is basically about when your child comes home and just dumps terrible stuff on you, how you should react. Now, when you might react, or at least start asking, I probably never just react unless it's life-threatening, but you should start asking some questions, I think, when if it sounds like it's repeated, all right, if it sounds like it's happening, multiple times with multiple people, or just with multiple people, like these are starting to be, things that would be concerning. If, for example, maybe there's a little behavior, I don't know, maybe their friends started out with a little joke, but somehow it spread and now it's becoming, a meme, a joke, in the class as a whole or in larger groups of people. If all these things are really important to consider, because if there's a vast power imbalance like that, or if honestly, if your child has made a good faith effort to get them to stop and they haven't, that might, now the consequences here wouldn't be like, taking the offending child and throwing them into some sort of, expel them, throw them into prison, make sure that no one ever talks to them again. Like, we have to, generally the solution to all of this would be coaching and teaching and guidance. That's how people grow. There might need to be some disciplinary outcomes as well, but that's not where we just jump to. So I hope that helps give a little sense. The other thing I was going to say, sorry, if it feels like whatever's happening has, like an underlying racial or economic, religious or gender, some of those kind of real specific and sensitive areas of identity, if it feels like it's not just teasing, it's actually like really, addressing those, making fun of those kinds of things, that probably also would be reported pretty quickly. All right, I hope that helps give you some food for thought. Adolescents are wonderful, but it's demanding. You need to kind of, when you had a 1-year-old or a brand new baby or a 2-year-old, you just knew it was going to be really demanding and you kind of planned for it. Adolescents look independent, in many ways they are, but you're going to do some intensive parenting. There's a lot of coaching and guiding. When there's a problem, it's not, what's gone wrong? It's, okay, we're going to address this and we're going to learn how to work through this. All right. I just send all you love, good wishes. You're doing great. Happy parenting. And it really can be. You've got this. Sincerely, Braden.